Hello, everybody, and welcome to your yoga, healing yoga. Get a little situated here. I'm just going to start, this is just a real crude drawing of this chart that I was speaking of last week, and we're not going to go into great detail or depth today. And of course, I just use a pencil because it was a quick drawing, so I'm going to bring it a little closer so you can see here. So we've got water, and then that goes up to wood. This is called the flow cycle, the outer circle. And then we've got fire at the top, earth, and then metal down here. So now I need to stand back a little bit. I'm going to transpose this on my torso. And I know you really can't see, and I'm just going to demo this for you. Welcome, everybody. I'm seeing all these names pop up. I'm loving it. Excellent. So I'm just showing you the chart of the 5-element wheel. So there's what's called a flow cycle, and this is this outer circle. Everything starts in water. And if I were to move this away from my body, right down in this lower region here, this is where kidney and bladder are. Of course, we've got kidneys on either side, but this would be the spot where you would palpate or just gently massage and just kind of see how that feels. Then we work around in a clockwise direction. So then we would move up just to beneath the right breast, and there the liver and the gallbladder. I'll bring this a little bit closer just so you can see. And then I'm just going to demo and talk about this. But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea. Everything starts in water, and we go in what's called this flow cycle. Water, winter, moves in to spring. Wood moves in to summer. Fire, and then there's earth over here. Of course, that occurs all the in-between solstices and the equinoxes. So we are constantly having earth move in and out of the wheel, the flow cycle, if you will. And then down here at the other side is autumn, or the season of metal. This is located our region of our large intestine, and it's also associated with the lungs. And then the star in the middle is another thing here. So again, everything starts in water. So water would move up to, it puts out fire. Fire melts metal as it comes down to this side. Metal would come up in the star shape and chops wood. Wood comes across and breaks through earth. What's happening now? And earth comes down here, contains water. So again, that's just going to give you pause and something to think about. That star is called the control cycle, and this outer wheel is called the flow cycle, or the 5-element theory in Chinese medicine. I'm going to hold this up a little bit higher, bring it in, and then we're just going to work on this on our own bodies as we stand. And I just want to demonstrate this for you so you can tell what's going on. I'm going to get a little bit closer. So as we stand, or you can even sit, but it's easier to stand or lie down when you're doing this. For the first time, you probably want to stand so you can see what I'm doing. So let's start with that breath in the nose and out the mouth. Just kind of drop into that so we can center ourselves, prepare for our practice today. See the reflection of my glasses off the screen, so just took those off. Continue with your breath in through the nose and out the mouth. And then we're just going to locate in the lower right corner of your body. Don't mirror me because then you'll be on the wrong side. So everything starts in water, or in the season of winter where everything begins. So just gently massage or palpate this area. Breathe in through the nose, out the mouth, and just make a mental assessment as to how that feels. And then we're going to come up to just beneath that right breast and underneath that rib cage, palpate that, to wood. First of all, in water, we have the kidney and the bladder that are represented by that element, those organs, one solid and one hollow. As we come up here to wood, liver and gallbladder. Again, one solid and one hollow. And just assess how that feels. Maybe shake off and flick off the fingers. And then we come to just below the sternum. It's called a xiphoid process. Don't press too hard in here, but just a little bit. A lot of times this is sensitive for people. This area, fire, the season of summer, but the element of fire represents two organs or four systems, if you will. So we have what's called the triple warmer or triple burner, top, middle, and bottom. Very involved in our fight, flight, freeze, our immune system, and lots of things. Very important. It's not an actual organ, but a system. And then we have what's called, of course, the small intestine. It's up here. Then our heart and the pericardium, which is the lining of the heart, helps protect the heart. So those are the two of the organs, of course, small intestine and heart, and then the other two systems, the pericardium or circulation sacs, and triple warmer. So palpate that, shake it off. Move around to beneath that left breast, and here we are in the season, well, the earth element, the solstices and equinoxes, and in between times, spleen and stomach are represented here. And as you go around, you may think, oh, well, that feels a little bit, maybe a little sore, or that I feel like I need to work that a little bit more. That's the beauty of the elements and kind of getting to know maybe what is going on in your body. So we're going to come down into the left side, large intestine, lungs, autumn, element of metal. So once we do that, we'll shake that off. We're continuing to breathe in through the nose, out the mouth. And then we'll just make that star shape. It's just to kind of finish up from last week. So again, starting in that lower right region of your body, everything starts in water. Water comes up. Water puts out fire. Press here. And fire comes down and melts metal. Drawing the star now. Breathe in through the nose, out the mouth. Metal draws up and chops wood. And then wood, in turn, comes over, breaks through earth. Think about the trees. Think about the seedlings. And then finally, earth comes down and dams up or contains water, holds water, if you will. Down in this corner, we shake that off. And that is the 5-element flow cycle, and then the 5-element control cycle with the star. So either standing or seated, let's do our wake up Breathing in through the nose and out the mouth. Opening up through a heart center, shining your heart light right from here. Find your collarbone, move down and out about an inch from the collarbone. Massage, tap, or thump. Continue that breath in the nose and out the mouth. Shake that off. And move to the sternum. Bringing in those T cells. We have what's called killer T cells, and those are the ones that are already ready to go. They've already been educated, if you will. And then they have the naive ones. They're not quite sure what to do yet. So we're going to tell them what to do. Wake up, come in, and command my immune system. Really build it up. Make it strong. It's like a shot of vitamin C. You can do this anytime you think about it. It's not going to hurt you. Shake it off. Come to your side seams, spleen points, digestion and metabolizing, our thoughts, experiences, and our food. Shake it off. And then come to your cheekbones. Grounding. Associated with the earth element, first point of our stomach meridian. We're tapping here on our cheekbones. We can move all the way around the eye, the orbital bone. And tap with some vigor if that is available to you, if that doesn't hurt you too much. But we just got to get things moving in through here. Grounding ourselves. Bringing ourselves down from being out in the ether. And all the electromagnetic energies that are coming around through our devices, through our computers, our phones, and everything out in the ether, in the air. Shake that off. Take about 3 deep breaths. Integrate those 4 thumps. And then we'll begin our cross crawl. So we'll go either march or just slap the top, same side of the leg, 3 to 4 rounds, dust off, cross over, either march or just cross over or slice from one shoulder to the opposite hip. There are many different ways we can do that crossover pattern in our bodies. And if you're feeling extra tired, you can do this 2 to 3 times in a go. I did this morning 3 times in a row, and bam, it gave me that extra jolt of energy that I needed. So we do this 10 to 12 times. Remember that crossing over brings the 2 sides together and strengthens our energy, or our literal energy of going through the day, getting things moving. Energy wants to move forward, energy wants to cross over. So this is one of the more important things we do. And then we hover over our pubic bone, set our intention. We zip up our field, sealing in, protecting our own energy that we've just increased. Take 3 deep breaths. And finally, we do what's called the hookup, belly button between the brows, energetic spine, building confidence. And then shake that off. So either standing or seated on your chair. Let's do for standing, we'll do the schoolyard hookup, just crossing one leg over the other, and then bringing the hands together and crossing one hand over. And it doesn't really matter You can tuck those under. If that's awkward, you can just cross the wrists and bring the palms together. So here we are crossed over. Is that a message? 3 deep breaths here. If you're seated in a chair, just cross one leg over. The leg that's crossed over, take the same hand to the balls of the feet. The other hand to the ankle. 3 to 5 deep breaths. After 3 to 5 deep breaths on one side, unwind the hands, switch that cross, and then switch the cross of the legs. 3 more, 3 to 5 more deep breaths. This unscrambles energy. I recommend it lots for finding your words. Just noticed in the last few years, there are sometimes I could be talking and then I just can't find the word. I cannot find it. This really does kind of help bring that together, bring everything so it flows a little more smoothly. Unwind. And then let's take a star position. You could take this from seated as well. Really stretch out. Reach the fingers wide. Draw that energy up from the earth, through the soles of the feet, up the legs, through the torso, up through the crown of the head, and extend to one side into your lateral stretch. Standing or seated. Breath can be in the nose, out the nose, or whatever natural breath suits you today. Maybe in the nose and out the mouth, of course. That's the standby. Let's come back to center and do that one more time. Keeping that belly button drawn in and up toward the spine. Center, other side. And then come back. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down as you squeeze them down, kind of as if you're squeezing your spine. Drop the scapular shoulder blades down along the spine. One more time. And then come back in. Bring the feet together. Soften the knees. Kind of sit back in this chair. Just make sure the knees are not past your toes. Hands on the thighs as you draw up and bring the hands to heart center. And come into heaven connecting earth. Another nice lateral stretch. That helps bring fresh air and oxygen to our joints. Flow freely through those joints. One more time. As we bring our hands back to heart center, come to stand, reach overhead, open up to all the possibilities. This moment, this time, heaven rushing in. And if you feel that you want to release something or some things, do that now with your intention. Deep breaths. And then weave that in. Come into forward fold or place the hands on the chair. Forearms. Breathe here. Step the feet about hip width apart, maybe a little further. And reach up here. Now this can be done from this chair or from your mat on your hands and knees. Reach up, just finding that opening through the shoulder and the pectorals, the chest. Other side. Reach up. Maybe circle that wrist. Both directions. We're going to do that one more time on each side. So either hands and knees or forearms onto this chair. Reach. Circle. Other direction. Release. Other side. Maybe bend that opposite knee. And slowly come up to your standing and weave to forward fold. We are going to come to our all fours or have this chair in front of us. We'll do some low lunges here, doing what we can, having this chair handy if necessary. So either all fours or placing the hands on the chair. Step one leg forward and shift. Adjust your chair as needed. Come into that deep hip flexor stretch. Have your hands here. If you want to challenge yourselves a little bit more, maybe draw one arm up or both arms up and breathe. Lifting to the heart center. Both hands come down. Extend through that lead leg, bringing the toes in toward the shin. That's going to give your calf a really deep stretch, and also you should feel the hamstrings firing. Hinging, remember hinging happens at the hip, where the hip and the leg meet, and we're leading with the navel. So instead of just letting the head drop, we're hinging just like this versus this. Hinge versus bend. Breathe, and once again, shift, and come back into that hip flexor stretch. It's a nice opening through our groins, a little bit through the hips, certainly in hip flexors. And then, let's bring our hands either down to the floor, or we can keep them on the chair. Lower down, hinge, let the head fall in between the biceps, or take the hands down into kind of what's called a lizard pose. So maybe you have a block here for that outer forearm to rest on. Remember, the block has 3 different heights or levels, depending on your flexibility and what feels good for you. Never forcing, just doing what we can for today. Breathing into that deep stretch. That knee is right now tracking over the ankle, but you might let that fall open if that feels good on your hip. And we'll breathe into this stretch. Slowly bring that knee in, and as you come up, once again open. Reach that palm toward the heavenlies. And let that arm just fall back into gravity. Might feel even a little numbing in through there. Just because we don't always stretch that, and we spend so much time with the shoulders kind of shrugging forward in our everyday, working at our desks, on our computers, on our phones, driving, whatnot. Circle that around. So if you're kind of spinning a pizza crust. Let that fall back into gravity. Open and close the fingers and thumb. And then weave that arm down. Step that first leg back. Let's move through some cat-cow stretches before we go to the other side. Now, if you don't have a block, you could always use a blanket or pillow or something just with a little bit of height and cushion to it. And support, of course. Now we'll come to side two, stepping the opposite leg forward. We'll shift here. Move into that hip flexor stretch. You can always tuck the rear toes for just a little bit more stability in that back leg. You might lift one arm up or both arms. Free to just do what feels good for you. Breath flowing. Gently come back. Extend through this lead leg and draw the toes in toward your shin. Hinging forward. Another deep breath here. And once again, shift forward. Draw that belly button in and up, sending that energy up that spinal line. And then we'll bring our hands to the inside here. Open up a little bit. Reach up. And come down. So we can use the chair. Again, options, using that chair, the block, forearms, or full arm. Just find what works for you. And pause for several breaths there. Option to let this knee fall open. Adjust your body so that this stretch feels good. That's the key. Send the breath to those places where you're feeling this nice deep stretch. Slowly come up. And once again, whatever knee is forward, lift that top arm. So my gaze is away from the camera, but you get the idea. Palm up, that arm falling back into gravity. Deep stretch here. Breathe. Then bring that back to just perpendicular from the shoulder and circle again with that pizza crust. And then weave your way down. Step that front foot back. Let's move through some cat-cow once again. Stacking wrists below our shoulders, knees below our hips. Bring in those side to side crescents or lateral stretches as well. Again, do you move the way your body is talking to you? That's how we learn to go inward and trust our bodies. We listen to those very subtle messages that it's giving us. And we heed the advice. So if, say, we're just moving through this cat-cow, it's like, oh, this feels so good. Stay with that feels so good for a breath or two or three. And then come into relative stillness. We're going to move into spinal balance. Now we can use this chair. We need some additional support for our balancing. Or we can be on all fours here. Extend a leg back. I have to go crisscross. Extend the one leg back. And then the opposite arm comes forward. You can tuck that other foot that is down for more stability in this posture. Draw that belly button in and up. And of course, when we have stacked joints, we can use fists for wrists if we have some wrist issues. Let's come back down, reset in our cat-cow, and go the other side. Extend the opposite leg out, flex foot, lift hip high. Opposite arm reaches, and our belly button is drawing in toward our spine. Breathe. Return back to all fours. Cat-cow. Now let's bring our forearms down either to the mat or to the chair. Maybe have a block if you have the chair here. Resting your forehead down. Or if you're just on your mat. Puppy pose. Forearms outstretched. Forehead making contact. Slowly inhale your way up. On knees, let's weave the arms. Maybe tuck the toes to create more stability here. Child's weaving heaven. We'll just come down. Pause just for about half of a breath cycle. And then slowly weave our way up. Engaging the core, drawing that belly button in and up. Full deep inhale and full exhale. One more time. And then coming down. Coming to kneeling once again. You can have your chair handy. Let's bring right hand to left shoulder and just draw the ear down and begin to gently nod and shake the head. No. You can go up and down, and then the Kind of like the earth on its axis. Think of a globe. And then release, and we'll take that to the other side. Drop the ear toward the shoulder. Nod. And side to side. Breathing all the while. I cue breath all the time, but many times when we're focusing on learning something new or doing a pose, a perfect pose for us, there is no perfect pose, by the way, then we kind of lose sight of our breathing. So that's why I'm constantly cueing that for you. Deep breaths. That lighting is okay here. So I'm going to come around and sit with my legs extended forward. You can sit in the chair as an option. No. Shed some more light here. That might be part of the problem. Okay. So, seated either in a chair or on your mat, your legs extended. You can have a pillow or a blanket to maybe prop you up just a little bit, giving you that forward or anterior pelvic tilt. It kind of helps us to be able to sit up a little more, sit upright a little bit more supported. So we're in our staff pose, drawing the toes in toward our shins, and we're breathing. Notice the backs of the legs. You may have a soft bend in the knees if you have tighter hamstrings. But think about that gold thread lifting through the crown of your head, keeping us upright, drawing from our very core. And let's weave the arms. Lead with the navel hinge. Make the attachment between knees and ankles. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, sink in. Drop the chin to the chest. If that draws on your low back, draw the belly button in and up. Sink in. Think about that head, neck, and spine alignment here. Again, if we drop our heads, head is about 8 to 10 pounds, about the weight of a bowling ball, so think about that. Ow, on your neck. Either weaving or trace spleen on our way up. Insides of big toenail, along arch behind the ankle bone, along the inseams of our legs, and a little wider at the torso along our sides, inside the breasts, almost to our shoulders, and then back down and buzz those. Do that one more time real quick, just to keep the energies humming that system. Shake it off. And now let's come onto our bellies for a little bit. Now, if that's not for you or doable, first of all, we're going to just come onto our bellies on our prone. Now, if that's not doable for you, you can sit in the chair and just cross the leg over and kind of open like this, allowing everything to fall into gravity. Because we are going to do a prone tree. So we're going to have the knee come out here. You can have any padding or any support beneath you here. Stacking the hands or using a block. One knee comes out. Knee comes no higher than hip. Into that tree pose. It's a gentle way to open that hip from the front. Take some deep breaths here. Notice your breath, the rise and fall, your belly against the earth. And then slowly bring your forearms up, elbows below shoulders, arms are in Sphinx Pose. So we're in this half tree. Gaze forward and draw your shoulders down from your ears. And then release, extend up for side, and then bring the second leg out. Gaze forward, and then stack the hands, and rest the head. Now, if the hands facing down is not comfortable, you can turn the palms up. Notice any difference from side 1 to side 2. Just make a mental note of that. Slowly come up. Place the forearms down once again. Gaze ahead. Draw that belly button in and up. And then extend both legs. Stack the hands facing up or down and rock your hips to reset. Still the hips. Now, if you have a sash, a tie, or strap of any kind, we're just going to roll over to our backs. Now, you can do this seated from the chair as well. Just place the strap on the bottom of the extended foot. So, we'll extend this leg. Fairly straight leg, so just give yourself as much slack as you need in this. And then begin to walk the hands, keeping this foot flexed. If the knee starts to bend, you want to stop. You want to have that full extension with just that micro bend, and you should feel a lot of work going on in your hamstrings. And then as if you're pushing out a piece of furniture with this other leg, this foot pushing and flexed. We're breathing here, heavy through the tailbone and through the upper back and shoulders. One foot walks on the ceiling, the other pressing against a wall. Deep breaths. Let's turn the toes outward. And maybe anchor this opposite hip down as we open the leg. If that hip stays down nicely, you can bring this arm out wide. You can also have this chair or something handy to rest the leg on if you feel like it's going to lift too much. Deep breaths. Inner thigh stretch, hip stretch, hip opening. Been doing a lot of those today. Slowly work this back. Come to center. Switch hands. Opposite hand comes wide. And then we cross over the body. Perhaps your gaze goes over that opposite outstretched arm. And then we return to center. Both hands hold on to the strap. Deep inhalation. And exhale, fold the knee into the chest. And then the other knee. Deep breath. As you inhale, think about anything you want to release. Exhale, lift the head to blow that out. Inhale, lift. Release one more time. Inhale. Place the opposite foot down and the strap around the balls of the feet of the opposite. Raised leg. Again, fairly straight leg, flexed foot. Find your edge as you draw it in. And don't let that leg bend too much, just that micro bend in the leg. Heavy through our back and tailbone. Slowly push out that piece of furniture. Deep breaths. Hamstrings, inner thigh. Turn the toes outward. Let that opposite arm come wide or anchor the hip as that leg opens. Slowly. We do all these things slowly. Helps keep us healthy and from hurting or harming ourselves. Ahimsa in yoga, no harm. Do no harm. Slowly return to center. Switch hands, toes go inward or medially. Draw that across the body for an outer thigh stretch. Gazing over this arm. And then slowly coming back to center. Deep breath in. And fold the knee. Place the strap to the side. And drop both knees into the chest. Perhaps rolling gently side to side for a little back massage if that feels good. Holding on to the knees, let's part the knees and circle them down and then zip up. Circle down, zip up. One more time. And now at the bottom, the knees are together, and then we draw them apart and circle up, then zip down. 2 more times. And then place the feet down. Now I invite you to either lie down or be seated. We're going to go through that flow cycle once more. And what this does for the 5 element, the flow cycles, it helps inform us of maybe where in our bodies we might be having some issues. So you might be able to just kind of work them through by moving around the flow cycle and then maybe the control cycle. I am going to do this kneeling again so you can watch, but if you can, lie back and I will do my best to talk you through this so you don't have to worry about looking at me. So if you just start your hands in the lower right region and use the fingertips and massage or palpate with just a little pressure, breathing all the while, and just feel what you feel. Make a note of it. Come up along that right side just beneath the rib cage. Palpate there. This is wood associated with liver and gallbladder. Season of spring where we are right now. Also associated with our joints. And then we'll come to that center xiphoid process, pressing there. This can be sensitive on a lot of people. Season of summer, fire, heart, small intestine, pericardium, triple warmer. You flick the fingers. And then circle around. Now we're beneath that left breast, beneath that rib cage. Earth element. Spleen, stomach. In between the seasons. Flick that out. And then very bottom left. Palpate. Large intestine. Metal, season of autumn. Also associated with the lungs. Flick that off. Now we'll come back to water because everything starts in water. We're going to draw the star. So we're going to come from that lower right area, draw a straight line just up between the breast, that xiphoid process. Water puts out fire. And then from fire, we're going to go down into metal, into autumn, from summer to autumn. Fire melts metal. So this is the control cycle. Fire kind of controls metal there. Metal comes up, draws up to underneath that right breast. Metal chops wood. Flick the fingers. And then wood comes across and breaks through earth. And finally, earth comes back down into water where it contains that water. Hold it. Flick that off. And from here, I invite you to come into your Savasana, your relaxation. At least take a couple minutes, either sitting or lying back, integrating your practice, perhaps going around or thinking about that control cycle, thinking about the breath. I know I throw lots of new things and concepts at you at different intervals, but sometime it just may all kind of come together for you and make some semblance of sense. So I invite you to practice any of the sounds, the breaths that we have practiced. And just drop into your final relaxation, whatever that looks like for you today. whatever position you're in your final relaxation, just very slowly bring your awareness back to your fingers. Begin to wiggle them. Wiggle the toes. Gently flutter the eyelids. And either joining me in seated or lying down, whichever you prefer. We'll do our 10 heart meditation, and I will walk you through that, or guide you through that. We start with drawing 3 hearts around the torso. And then 3 hearts in the field around the body. And then place the heart with your fingers and your thumb right at heart center. Take a deep breath. And thank you for joining me for practice today. I look forward until we meet again. Namaste. Thank you all.